2 billion years into the past, the Divine Council gathered to incarnate Satan from hell, as blue flames sacrificed them to awaken the nemesis of God. On the other side of the world, an ugly, useless bastard shot his crossbow at innocent birds. But when Rin tried screaming at him to stop, Shiratori fired an arrow that nearly ended his life, and told him to shut his useless face the f*** up. In that instant, Rin charged towards him and punched the worthless moron's face, but after they ran away calling him a demon, he saw the blood on his hands, and his memories were erased once again. His father had always known something was off about him, because even when he caught a scarf for a girl, a divine spirit materialized into existence and began running away with it. But after chasing the demonic being across the store, it jumped onto a box of cans to push them onto the girl. But even though Rin jumped to protect her, she never woke up again. Everyone blamed him for her death, but deep inside the forbidden cave, his father opened heaven's last chest and saw that the seal of God had begun to burn. By the time the sun rose, millions of hell spirits had begun flying around their world, but Rin wondered why he was the only one who was able to see the apocalypse. Just then, Shiratori and his group of rehab addicts told Rin that they had a gift for him, but although he thought it was sketchy, he wondered if it was better than the bath toaster his mom gifted him on his birthday. Inside the alley, Rin wondered why the spirits were gathering around Shiratori, but he offered Rin $100 to get on his knees. After all, he believed a poor loser like him needed the money to afford school like his retarded brother, but Rin punched his face after hearing those words. However, the demon within Shiratori began to awaken, and as his body transformed, the others pinned Rin onto the ground. So as he took a burning metal rod, he kicked away one of his lackeys and grabbed Rin's head, telling him to pick this rod or his rod. As the flames drew closer, a blue fire launched them away as it engulfed Rin's body. But when Shiratori saw the color of his blaze, he realized that Rin was the son of Satan, and introduced himself as Astaroth, saying he would be delivering him to his father. Just then, Fujimoto appeared and began praying to exorcise the demon. But as Astaroth rushed towards him, Fujimoto dodged his attack and threw him onto the ground, exorcising the demonic spirit within Shiratori, and left him unconscious. However, his father realized that Rin was now able to see the spirits, and revealed that their world consisted of 2 dimensions that mirrored one another, with Gehenna merging into their world, Asaya. His birth was the catalyst that would bring the end of their world, and the demons were hunting for him, as they had found the son of Satan. While they were rushing back to the monastery, Fujimoto recited a new chant that obliterated a forming demon, but as they tried jumping over to a rooftop, he managed to save Rin from falling. At that moment, they noticed a pack of dogs before them, and Fujimoto revealed that they were ghouls, which were dead bodies possessed by demons. As he hurled a bottle of holy water, they managed to escape, but as Fujimoto said they needed to get to the monastery immediately, he revealed that the demons would awaken to their full power once the sun set. Meanwhile, Shiratori had regained consciousness, and as the demon repossessed his body, he began punching the metal walls, causing his friends to run away in fear. With Astaroth having regained control of the body, he began heading out to find Rin, wanting to take him to the underworld. At the same time, Fujimoto and Rin had arrived at the monastery, and as they entered the church, ghouls began crashing into the invisible barrier, but as Fujimoto revealed a secret basement, he directed Rin inside. Immediately, he opened a trunk, revealing a mystical blade, and as he told him that it was called Kirikara, he explained that it was a demon-slaying sword. He said it was a legendary sword that had been passed down since ancient times, and as he revealed that his demonic powers were sealed inside, he warned him to never draw the blade, as it would awaken his powers and turn him into a demon. Meanwhile, Astaroth had arrived outside the monastery, but as he tried crossing, Truck-kun tried sending his next victim into an isekai. However, when the mother trucker tried checking his body, Astaroth planted him into the wall, and decided to become Truck-kun himself. Just then, the basement trembled, but as they rushed outside, they realized that Astaroth had driven Truck-kun into the church. He said that he was here to take Rin to Gehenna and to get him dripped out with the greatest outfits from Ichiverse, an infinite universe of anime merch, and the sponsor of today's video, because even with disgusting faces like Shiratori's useless squad, they could easily get customized hoodies and t-shirts of their favorite animes, and could even form a pack of wannabe Uchiha Hitachi followers. For whichever outfit that best suits your taste, there are a variety of customized colors to choose from. And if you smell worse than an anime convention, you could proudly rock the greatest anime protagonist of all time, Naruto, or you could even ride in a Franxx with 02. because with the warm texture of each outfit, it will feel the same as riding Zero to herself. If you would rather have customized Naruto and Sasuke canvas painting poster shirts that look more realistic than Rin's pathetic face, or even an unframed shot of all the eyes of your favorite heroes and villains from Naruto that gave them broken, overpowered abilities to ravage the entire world, then choose Itchiverse as your perfect outlet. So what are you waiting for? Click on the link in my description to place your order, and use code SLAYER to get 10% off your order, along with free shipping all across the UK and Europe and fast shipping worldwide. Itchiverse covers anime, manga, and manhwa customized shirts, and with their current store-wide sale, they keep up to date with the latest anime trends and update new stylish outfits in different seasons. Thanks to Itchiverse for sponsoring me, because while Rin had upgraded to a world of cooler outfits, Shiratori and his worthless group of losers were still stinking in their old filthy disgusting clothes that made them look like homeless losers. Damn! As Astaroth began saying that he came to take Rin to Gehenna, he extended his arm to catch his foot, but a priest spilled holy water on his body. Immediately, Fujimoto told Rin to escape and gave him his phone to call another exorcist, saying that he would protect him. So as he pushed him into the basement, he sealed it up and locked him inside with a holy chant. At that moment, Kyoto revealed his holy mark, but as he destroyed a ghoul, Izumi summoned a puppet that began annihilating demon mushrooms. As Astaroth grew angry, Fujimoto took out his shotgun, but Rin was still trying to get out of the basement. With his entire life flashing before his eyes, Rin remembered that he had always been called a demon, and wondered if it was because he had always been a demon all along. Inside the church, Astaroth was dodging Fujimoto's blasts, but as he ripped up the puppet, he began dodging Kyoto's punches, before releasing toxic gas that covered his body with mushrooms. Luckily, Nagatamo began plucking them off while reciting a chant, making them disappear from his body. However, mushrooms continued growing all over the church, but as Maruta spilled fire on them, Astaroth hit him with a nasty kick. As Astaroth turned into a giant, swearing to eliminate every single one of them, a pitchfork stabbed him into the floor, and they realized that Rin hurled it. But before Astaroth would recover, Fujimoto began reciting a chant, and after he exorcised the demon, he wondered what Rin's worthless face was still doing here. However, when Rin screamed that he was not his father, and that they never once treated him as if he was their son, Fujimoto smacked his face, and told him to prepare to leave. But at that moment, he fell on his knees, and as all the lights went out in the church, Fujimoto erupted into flames. With Rin wondering if his body was that disgusting, Nagatamo revealed him that Fujimoto had been possessed by Satan. Just then, Satan introduced himself as his real father, and as he said he was the god of Gehenna, he caused all the priests to burst into flames. At the same time, his blood formed a massive pool, and as he revealed that his presence was too strong for this world, demons began emerging from the ground. He told Rin that this was the gate to Gehenna, and asked him to return to the underworld with him. But as Rin screamed at him to stay away, Satan began pulling him towards the gate, saying he was special, and eventually dumping him inside. At that moment, the demons began absorbing him, but as Fujimoto managed to repossess his body, he isekai'd himself before falling inside. Desperate to save his father, Rin tried holding his body, but they continued sinking deeper. As Rin recalled an old memory, and realized that Fujimoto had always loved him, he grabbed his sword, but as Izumi tried warning him not to draw it, he pulled the blade, drawing out immense flames. With his body having transformed into a demon, he hacked Gehenna's gate, successfully closing it. However, Fujimoto was already dead, but as Yukio arrived at that moment, he rushed over to his body as Rin continued to cry. A few days later, after Fujimoto was buried, Rin continued staring at his gravestone, and was pained by his loss. As he remembered that Fujimoto had told him to call his exorcist friend, Rin decided to call his number, but began hearing a phone ringing around the graveyard. As a man answered it, he told him that he was representing the Japanese branch of True Cross Order, and as he introduced himself as Mephisto, Rin told him that he wished to avenge his father by killing Satan. But as Mephisto thought this kid was truly insane, he agreed to train him as an exorcist. The following day, as Rin began to leave, all the priests bade him farewell, but when he realized that Yukio was nowhere in sight, he began wondering where he was. A few hours later, when he arrived at the center of the city, a car nearly ran him over, but as Mephistos emerged outside, he revealed that he was taking him to the True Cross Academy, the same school where Yukio gained a scholarship. Mephisto said he was the principal of this academy, and as he told Rin that he would become one of their students, Yukio arrived at that moment. As they began riding off together, Rin wondered where Yukio had been, so he told him that he was paying his last respects to their father. By the time they arrived at the school, Rin began wondering why Yukio had not asked him how their father lost his life, and wondered if he knew what happened. That same day in the school hall, Yukio was declared the freshman's representative for scoring the highest grade on the entrance exam, and as he gave the opening speech, Rin wondered if he really knew his brother. Later that day, while they were in the schoolyard, Rin began thinking that Yukio was clueless of everything, and as he thought he needed to be protected, he decided that he would never tell him about the demons. All through that day, Rin went about the entire school, but as he thought he was in another world, all the students thought he was an ugly creep. As he began wandering the hallway, a useless dog appeared before him, but as it nearly tripped him, he began following it outside. Before his eyes, it hopped on top of street lamps, but as it transformed into Mephisto, he revealed that this was the only way he could wander around unnoticed. With Rin in shock, he began wondering how an exorcist could shapeshift. But Mephisto told him that he was special. As he tossed him a key, he said he could pass through any door to attend his crammed school classes, and explained that this was the class for exorcists. He would be attending the regular high school while also training to be an exorcist in the cram school. And as Mephisto told him that the cram school class would soon begin, he warned him to never reveal his blue flames. Just then, he leaped down from the bridge, and as he directed Rin to open the secret door, he led him to his class before turning back into the dog. As Rin decided to enter, he spotted all the losers inside, but introduced himself anyway. After taking a seat, he began wondering who they were, so Mephistos told him that they were training to become exorcists, and revealed that only a few of them had received a spirit wound. As he went on to explain that a spirit wound was an illness inflicted by a demon, he said it made the victim start seeing demons, but thought Rin was already an exception. Just then, the teacher arrived, but Rin nearly passed out when he realized he was Yukio. As Yukio began saying that he would be teaching them anti-demon pharmacology, he revealed that he had been studying exorcism since he was 7 years old, and said they would start the class with the ceremony of the spirit wound. As Yukio tried explaining that rotten animal blood attracts the goblins, Rin pulled his arm, and began demanding that he explain everything. Realizing Rin would not shut up, Yukio asked the rest of the students to wait outside, and began telling him that their father trained him to be an exorcist. As Rin wondered if he knew everything about demons, Yukio affirmed that he did, and told him that he was the only clueless moron amongst them. He had received a spirit wound from him when they were born, and said he began to see demons ever since he was a child. Hearing these words, Rin demanded to know why he was not told anything, but as he made Yukio to accidentally spill the blood, pipes burst at that moment. As demons began to appear, Yukio blasted them instantly, and as he revealed that they were called hobgoblins, he continued shooting them as they materialized. With Rin wanting more answers, he began demanding to know if Yukio actually hated him, but Yukio ignored his face and continued shooting the goblins. As he called Rin a dangerous demon, he said he should be nowhere close to anyone, and wondered why he wanted to become an exorcist. As he fired at more demons, he said he was better off dead than trying to avenge their father, and blamed him for causing his death. He had been watching the entire time, and noticed how their father resisted Satan every time he tried to possess his body. For this resistance, he thought he was definitely the strongest exorcist in the world, but as he blasted another set of goblins, he wondered what Rin must have told him that allowed Satan to take over his body within a split second. As he pointed his gun towards him, he said he was responsible for their father's death, but as flames began oozing from Rin's body, he let out a scream that repelled Yukio. Wanting to live, Rin began saying that he didn't kill their father, and as he drew his sword, he rushed past him and sliced a large demon, causing it to disperse. At that moment, Yukio realized he was still on his side, and as he asked what their father's final moment was, Rin told him that he died while protecting him. As Yukio heard these words, he realized that he became an exorcist for a similar reason, and as he thought they were alike, he warned him that every exorcist would try to kill him once they discovered who he really was. That night, when Rin arrived at his dorm room, Yukio told him that they would be roommates, and said they were the only students inside the entire dormitory, because Rin was a menace who needed to be separated from regular people. A few days later, when Yukio wondered if Rin had been reading the books he recommended, Rin realized they were basic children's stories, and began saying that he wasn't so brain-dead as to settle for them. However, Yukio thought he was far worse, and as he said the books were the easiest things he could ever understand, he told him that they were his best hope of becoming an exorcist. As he was about to leave, Rin realized he was heading out to exorcise a demon and began asking to follow him. Realizing he might be useful after all, Yukio decided to accept, but warned him to pay attention to everything he said. Revealing a special key, Yukio told him that it led to the supply store and said that only exorcists could use it. As he opened the door, revealing an extended bridge, Rin realized that it was far above the ground. When he wondered if Yukio's key wrapped them into another dimension, Yukio revealed that the keys were the only means for entering the secret sections of the True Cross Order, and as he warned him to protect his key, he said they were the only things keeping the demons out, as he continued by saying that Mephisto already used his power to set a maze of barriers that would ward off higher-level demons. He said that using these secret doors was the only way he could avoid the traps when returning to the outside world. When they arrived at an exorcist store, Yukio told him that he needed to buy supplies for their exorcism, and asked him to wait until he returned, as only exorcists were allowed inside. However, when he went up to the store, Rin grew curious to see the inside, so he began climbing up to the gate. As he looked into the yard, he noticed a beautiful garden, and soon spotted a little girl named Shimi, who was tending the flowers. Enchanted by the sight, he accidentally touched the gate, destroying the protective barrier around it as it fell open before him. At that moment, Shimi noticed his worthless face, but as he tried saying that the gate broke on its own, she thought he must be a demon and began trying to get away from him. However, Rin discovered that she could not walk and noticed thick veins inside her legs. Meanwhile inside, Yukio was making his order, but as he wondered if Shimi was recovering, the woman named Old told him that the doctors could not detect anything in her bones and muscles, and that she could remain paralyzed forever. Outside, Rin began helping Shimi to make fertilizer, so as she thanked him for his help, she began saying that the garden belonged to her grandmother who already passed on, and said she wanted to take care of it forever. At that moment, Yukio and Old appeared, and as Yukio wondered what Rin's face was doing here, Rin realized he knew Shimi. As Old revealed that Yukio intended to check Shimi's legs, the girl began saying that she wasn't connected to any demons. But Yukio insisted on checking anyway, so as he observed her leg, he realized that the thick veins were actually roots, and told them that it was a spirit wound. He said that the girl was luckily not possessed, but thought the demon must have possessed a plant in their garden, and as he revealed that the roots were starting to extend to her heart, he wondered if she had ever spoken to a demon. Afraid she would be sent away from the garden, Shimi told them that she didn't speak to any demons, but Old commanded her to leave anyway. Determined to stay, Shimi began saying that the garden was her granny's treasure, and as she told her mother that she hated her for abandoning the garden, she passed out at that moment. That evening, after they laid her in her bed, they noticed she was talking in her sleep, so as Yukio revealed that the demon was draining her energy through her legs. He said she would slip into nirvana if they failed to exorcise it. While in her sleep, Shimi remembered that a demon had appeared before her in the form of a flower right after her granny died, and had promised to help her nurture the garden in exchange for her strength. At sunset, when she woke up, she realized that she needed to water the plants, and thought she must continue protecting them. But as she began watering the flowers, Rin arrived, and thought she was definitely getting out of hand. Immediately, he began destroying her flower pots, but as he wondered why she was determined to stay in this garden forever, Shimi revealed that she felt guilty for her granny's death, and remembered that she found her under a trellis after she arrived late to the garden. She thought her granny would still be alive if she never left, and blamed herself for her death, saying she must protect the garden in her stead. At that moment, Rin realized she was just like him, and thought she was trapped in her past the same way he blamed himself for Fujimoto's death. Wanting to make her snap out of it, he began telling her to get her shit together, and asked her to focus on what she really wanted. So as Shimi realized that her granny would want her to move on, she finally agreed to leave. But Yukio arrived at that moment. As he told them that he would easily exorcise the demon, he promised Shimi that she would start walking again. But they began hearing the demon's voice around the garden. Before they knew it, a large root shot out of the ground, and as it threw Rin off, it tied Shimi to its leaves. As it revealed its eyes, the demon began saying that it would stay merged with Shimi forever. So as Yukio realized it was using the girl as a shield, he decided to ask Rin for support. Excited to hear these words, Rin coolly drew his sword, but as he began trying to attack the demon, it continued using Shimi as a shield until Rin realized it was hopeless. Just then, Yukio aimed with his gun, saying that he would shoot her, but as he fired, the demon threw her off, allowing Rin to slash it in half. As Yukio caught her in his arms, they realized she was still alive, and Shimi began to walk again. Just then, her mother arrived, and as Rin slapped her head, he told her to apologize to her. Deciding to obey him, Shimi approached her mother, but before she could say a word, Old hugged her immediately. As Rin stared at Old and Shimi, he was happy at their reconciliation, and realized that helping them amend their bond also helped his own healing process. The following day, while in class, Rin noticed a useless ugly dude staring at him. His name was Suguro, but as he told Rin to get lost, Rin decided to ignore his useless face. However, all through that day, Rin continued sleeping in class, and as Suguro thought he didn't deserve to be here, he grew angry each time. When it was time for Yukio's class, he began giving all the students their test results. But as Rin discovered he scored an F, Yukio told him that he was totally hopeless. When it was Suguro's turn, he called Rin a brain-dead loser and said he never belonged at the academy. As Rin realized he scored an A, he began saying he wouldn't accept that Suguro was actually smarter and said he must have cheated. However, Suguro reminded him that all the students in the class actually wanted to become exorcists, and as he called Rin an eyesore, he told him to get lost if he wouldn't get serious. Desperate to redeem himself, Rin began saying that he also wanted to become an exorcist, but as they stared each other down, two students decided to pull Suguro away. Later that day, while at a fountain, Yukio told Rin that Suguro was also on a scholarship because he was smart, and as he said that Rin was nothing compared to him, he revealed that Suguro was heir to a famous temple in Kyoto. Noticing the time, Yukio decided to leave for his next class, so with Rin and Shimi all alone, she began confessing that she wasn't really determined to become an exorcist. As Rin noticed she was sad, he tried telling her that everyone could not be smart, and said the world would always be filled with moronic people like her. Hearing these words, Shimi thought they complemented each other, but as she tried asking him to become her friend, Suguro arrived with his minions. As he wondered if Shimi was his girl, Rin screamed that she wasn't, and even denied that she was his friend. But as he noticed the boys flanking him, he began wondering if he was a celebrity who needed an escort. At that moment, Suguro grew angry, but as they stared each other down again, the other boys thought they were similar. A few minutes later, during physical training, Rin and Suguro began running from a demon leaper, as the instructor named Tsubaki began explaining that the training was supposed to adjust their body to the movements of a demon. The boys ignored his words, and Rin's only thought was to beat Suguro in the race. Thinking Rin was only lucky, Suguro began saying that he was better in combat, and kicked him into the dirt. Before he knew it, the leaper was about to devour him, but Tsubaki pulled a lever to yank it back. For their daring attitude, Tsubaki thought they must have lost their minds, but Suguro was only concerned about not losing to Rin. At that moment, they got worked up again, but as Tsubaki managed to separate them, he decided to speak with Suguro privately. However, Rin was still angry, but as he began wondering why Suguro was such an ass, Shima revealed that he could not control his emotions and was too concentrated on his goals. At the same time, Tsubaki was telling Suguro to be on his best behavior, but as he warned him to stay out of trouble, Suguro wondered why Rin wasn't also getting a pep talk. Tsubaki decided to tell him that Rin got into the academy with a special permission from the principal, and said he was better off staying away from him. But Suguro thought that Rin must have bribed his way into the school. On the other side, Shima decided to tell Rin that Suguro's goal for wanting to become an exorcist was to eliminate Satan. But as Rin heard these words, he realized it was also his goal. However, Shima thought that Suguro was a clown for wanting something impossible, and Kaneko said he wanted to rebuild the temple that was destroyed in the Blue Night. When Rin wondered what it was, Kaneko decided to tell him that it happened 16 years ago, and said that Satan had simultaneously killed over 100 prominent exorcists during an exorcism ritual. They recognized his trademark blue flames, and Shima revealed that only their high priest managed to survive. However, this incident had caused a decline in their followers, and as the temple was eventually abandoned, all the people began calling it the Cursed Temple. Kaneko told Rin that they were apprentices at this temple, and revealed that they wanted to become exorcists so that they could help Suguro to rebuild it. A few minutes later, Tsubaki received a mysterious call, so as he told the students to continue practicing on their own. He warned them not to get close to the leaper before darting off. However, Suguro thought he was disgusting, and began saying that Rin was as useless as the teacher. When Rin tried saying that he was just as determined as everyone else, Suguro decided to challenge him, and told him to touch the leaper inside the racetrack. With leapers being formidable demons, Suguro thought they would easily sense emotions in him, and said they would devour him if he showed fear or anger even for a split second. He was convinced that this was the perfect test to prove his determination to become an exorcist, and told Rin that he would earn his respect if he returned without getting hurt. However, Rin declined the challenge, realizing he couldn't afford to reveal his powers, so he told Suguro that he would rather focus on his goals. Even so, these words only made Suguro angry, and as the moron began thinking that everyone was looking down on him, he remembered that the same thing had happened during his childhood. Because after all the prominent exorcists had died at the temple, all the people in the community began calling him the child of the curse, and no one would offer his father any donations to rebuild the temple. This had made him angry at everyone, and as he declared that he would become an exorcist, he vowed to eliminate Satan and rebuild the temple. However, his father thought he was funnier than a clown, but as Suguro was still bent on proving himself to everyone, he slid down into the racetrack. As he appeared before the leaper, saying he would defeat Satan, everyone began laughing at his moronic face, and wondered why he was less smarter than when he was a kid. This taunting laughter reminded him of his childhood, and as it made him angry, the leaper roared at his face. Immediately, Rin flew into the racetrack, but as the demon devoured his body, he revealed the flames in his eyes, forcing the leaper to release him. With Suguro still in shock, Rin declared that he would be defeating Satan, and told him to get lost. However, Suguro thought he stole his goal, but as Rin called him the copycat, they confronted each other. Meanwhile, Yukio was aiming from a distance, having thought that Rin would reveal his blue flames. So as he told Mephisto that he didn't, he wondered if Mephisto was trying to control Satan's powers. That evening, while Mephisto was on an unfinished building, a mysterious demon appeared from the darkness, and told him that Gehenna was in a state of chaos. He was the Earth King named Amaimon, but as he told Mephisto that all the other demons were eager to see him, Mephisto told him that he was raising their younger brother Rin, and said he could not leave him alone. However, after Amaimon disappeared, Mephisto decided that he would never return to Gehenna. The following day in class, Suguro decided to thank Rin for saving his ass, but as he lent him a hair clip for holding his hair while reading, Rin thought it smelled worse than fart. A few days later, when Rin arrived at the Co-Opus store, he rushed through the queue to get the final sandwich, but Suguro caught it at the same time. Since it was the only meal his broke ass could afford, Rin screamed at Suguro to give it up already, but Suguro told him to kiss his flat ass. As Yukio arrived behind the queue, 3 girls appeared behind him, but as they offered him lunch to eat, they wondered whom he would eat out when he was done. Realizing he wasn't ready to lose his virginity, Yukio told them that he would rather eat lunch with his brother, and rushed off immediately. When they arrived at Mephisto's office, Rin began demanding for an allowance, having gotten too broke to survive. So as Mephisto offered him 2,000 yen, he told him that it was for the entire month, but Rin thought it couldn't possibly last for a week. While leaving, Rin began wondering how they would survive, but when Yukio told him that he was getting a decent salary as an exorcist and teacher, Rin thought he had been betrayed. Wanting to save his broke ass, Yukio decided to take him shopping, and as he offered to buy all the ingredients, he told Rin that he must make lunch every day. This way, they could save extra money from less spending, and Yukio thought he could easily turn down the girls' lunch offer. That night at the dormitory, Rin decided to make side dishes for the next day, saying they would only have to heat it up in the morning. However, the following morning, he kicked Yukio to the floor and began demanding to know why he ate up all the side dishes. When Yukio told him that he didn't eat it, they realized that a mysterious person was living in the dormitory with them, and they thought he had been making their meals every day. Just then, they began hearing chopping noises from the kitchen, but as they decided to see who it was, they realized he was Mephisto. With the boys in shock, they began wondering if he had been cooking their meals all the while, but Mephisto told them that he was only a temporary replacement, and said their food was being cooked by a demon called Yukabak. He had hired the demon as his familiar, but revealed that their late-night cooking was a trespass of its territory, which caused it to boycott its services. As their punishment, Mephisto said they must eat his disgusting soup, and said he would be their new chef until Yukaba decided to return. As Rin drank all of Mephisto's slimy soup, he thought it was the worst thing he had ever tasted. That night, after Rin cleaned up the entire kitchen, the place got messed up by an invisible demon, and as he thought it was Yukaba, the monster appeared before his eyes. At the same time, Yukio was rushing towards the dormitory, and was afraid that Rin would ruin the entire place. But when he arrived inside, he realized that Rin and Yukaba were exhausted from having a cooking contest, but they decided to shake hands in a new partnership. The following day, while Shimi was heading to school, she began wondering if she would ever make any friends. but concluded that she would make an attempt to befriend her classmates. When she entered the secret section, she noticed 2 of her classmates walking off, but as she tried running towards them, she tripped and fell right on her face. The sight of her worthless body made Izumo think she was pathetic, but as she walked off, Paku told her to watch her steps. Just then, Rin arrived, asking to know what happened, but Shimi began to leave, deciding to never rely on him. That day in class, as Yukio announced that they would be having their Esquire authorization exam, Shimi explained to Rin that it was an exam for intending exorcists. Every student would take this exam to determine their future, but Yukio announced that they would be going on a training camp before the exam. As he passed down forms, he told them to choose a field that they wanted to advance in as Meister. But as Rin was completely clueless, he decided to ask Suguro what it meant, so Kaneko told him that it was a qualification for exorcists, and said it was a title given to them. They could either become a dragoon, an area, a doctor, a tamer, or a knight. When Rin wondered which category would be fitting for him, Suguro told him that the knights fight with swords. Hearing these words, Rin told them that it was the perfect category for him. But as Shimi noticed that even Rin was starting to make friends, she began wondering why no one wanted to be with her. When the next class began, the teacher named Newhouse drew a summoning circle and told the students that he intended to summon a demon. As his blood dripped into the middle, he recited a chant that summoned a ghoul before their eyes, but he told them that only a few people who could summon demons could use them as familiars. He said that they needed to have a strong will so that they could tame the demon, but revealed that it could only be a talent. Wanting to test their talent, he decided to give them papers with a magic circle and told them to say whatever popped on their mind after they dripped their blood on it. Deciding to take the first attempt, Izumo drew blood from her finger, and as she recited a chant, 2 spirit foxes appeared before her. All the students thought it was incredible, but after realizing that no other person had the talent, Shimi decided to give it a shot. Luckily, a tiny creature appeared before her eyes, and as Newhouse revealed that it was a green man's spirit, Shimi thought this was her perfect chance to talk to Izumo. Wanting to impress her, Shimi began saying that they both had familiars, but Izumo told her that it looks uglier than her disgusting face. As Newhouse told them that demons would never obey someone weaker than themselves, he explained that they would attack any summoner who loses confidence in his own self, and warned them to rip their paper before they were attacked. However, when the class was over, Rin decided to retain her own familiar and called it Ni. But as Izumo began to leave, Shimi ran after her in the corridor, screaming for her to wait. This made Izumo angrier, but as she began wondering what her fat ass face wanted, Shimi asked her to become her friend. Unwilling to turn her away, Izumo accepted to be her friend. But as she actually wanted to make her an errand girl, she told her to carry her bag, saying it was the right thing to do as her new friend. Somehow, Shimi's worthless brain completely bought her shit, but as they began leaving together, Rin knew that something was definitely wrong. As the days passed, Izumo continued sending Shimi out on errands, and Rin became certain that Izumo had turned her into a servant. On the day the training would begin, all the students arrived at Rin's dormitory, but as Suguro thought it looked like a haunted hotel, Izumo wondered if it was a place from ghost stories. That night, after they were done with their first exam, all the students were exhausted, but as Izumo invited Paku to the shower, Shimi offered to join them. However, when they arrived at the bathroom, Izumo made Shimi resume her duty as a bag carrier, and told her to buy some fruit milk before she returned. At that moment, Rin arrived, but as he noticed that Shimi was still being used as a slave, he tried telling her to abandon Izumo. However, Shimi thought that Izumo was her only true friend, so as she confessed that she only wanted company, she began running off. Wanting to persuade her anyway, Rin ran after her, but as he managed to catch her, they heard a scream from the bathroom, and Rin began running back. Inside the bathroom, a demon had knocked Paku unconscious, and as its blood burned her skin, Izumo decided to summon her twin wolves. However, she soon thought she was too late, and began wondering if she should abandon her. But when the wolves realized she couldn't make up her mind, they tried attacking her, but Rin punched them away. Immediately, he told Izumo to rip the papers, so as she caused them to vanish, Rin realized he could not afford to draw his blade. Just then, Shimi arrived, and as she offered to treat Paku's wound, she told him to hold off the demon. Having no other choice, Rin decided to knock it away, but as the demon recognized him as Satan's son, it hurled him into the bath. At the same time, Shimi was wondering how she would get first aid, so as Ni grew a Sancho from its belly, she realized it was the precise flower she needed. Inside the bath, the demon was trying to end Rin's life, and as it revealed that it was sent to eliminate him, Rin realized his sword was far beyond his reach. Luckily, Yukio fired shots at the demon, but as it managed to escape, Rin realized he was only lucky to be alive. However, Shimi was already treating Paku's injury, but as Rin found Izumo crying, he covered her up with his shirt. That same night, the demon returned to New House on a rooftop, and as he wondered if it succeeded in its mission, he revealed that he was only temporarily working for demons. Early the next morning, when Izumo came across Rin, she decided to give him back his shirt, and thanked him for saving her the previous night. Just then, Yukio arrived, and as he injected Paku with an antidote in her room, he revealed that she would recover within 3 days. As they began leaving, Rin wondered how the demon managed to sneak inside, but Yukio told him that they were investigating it. He said that the demon was a higher level Nabarius and confessed that they usually found a way around the barrier. Inside Paku's room, Paku told Izumo that she would be quitting the cram school as she thought she was too weak to fight demons. However, Izumo thought she was responsible for this decision and decided to apologize for not being nicer. But Paku told her that she loves her just the way she was. That day in class, the teacher noticed that Izumo had spaced out and decided to ask her to recite the fatal verse for exorcising a demon. However, the useless girl could not recite beyond the first line, so as Suguro decided to recite the entire chapter, everyone realized he was truly smart after all. When the class was over, Izumo began saying that he was only good at memorizing, but Suguro called her a rotten ugly bitch who was less smarter than a duck.
What did he say?
Wanting to clap back, Izumo said that Area were totally useless exorcists, as they would always rely on their teammates for protection while chanting. Having had enough of this bitch, Suguro told her to shut her ugly ass mouth, and as he threatened to beat her up, she accidentally slapped Rin's face. Angered by this, Rin screamed at them to get lost, but Yukio arrived at that moment and commanded them to be at peace with each other. That night in the dormitory, he made all the students carry ghost stones on their legs and called the training a collective responsibility. He said its purpose was to strengthen their bonds with each other, and as he admitted that an exorcist could never fight alone, he told them to support each other's abilities and cover their weaknesses. Just then, he revealed that he was heading out for a mission, and said that he would be gone for 3 hours, but promised to put up a strong barrier that would keep out any demon. When Suguro wondered where they would stay, Yukio said they must remain in this room until he returned, and told them to resolve their differences in the meantime. However, when he left, Suguro began blaming Izumo and said her useless mouth had gotten them into trouble. Right then, the lights went out, but as they wondered if it was a blackout, they noticed that the other dormitories had power. With Shima wanting to discover what happened, he suggested they check the switchboard and began heading towards the door. However, when he opened it, he saw a ghoul before his eyes and swiftly shut it. As he began thinking it must have been his imagination, the demon broke through the door, and as it stepped inside, they realized it was the same ghoul from the previous night. Before their eyes, its part exploded, spilling its miasma on them. But as Shimi told Ni to protect them, it released huge branches that pierced the demon, extending into a barrier. However, the demon separated its body, and as Rin watched it regenerate, it began destroying the branches. At that moment, all the students began feeling sick, and as Izumo revealed that the demon's miasma was generating an infection, Rin began wondering why he wasn't sick. Realizing he could not show off his powers, Rin offered to lure the demon away, so as he made his way through the branches, the demon pursued him into the passage. However, when Shima began suggesting they run off, the other half of the demon appeared before them. Inside the hallway, Rin was still running away from the demon and hoped that turning power back on would weaken it. Back in the room, the ghoul began destroying the branches, but as Suguro realized it would eventually break through, he suggested they exorcise it. Realizing they could only do so with the fatal verse, Kaneko began wondering if he knew what it was, but Suguro said he would recite all the chapters of John, hoping to eventually reach it. Wanting to support him, Kaneko offered to recite the final chapter, so as Shima revealed his weapon, he promised to protect them. Meanwhile, Rin had made it to the switchboard, but as he began wondering how he could turn the power back on, the demon hurled him into a railing. With the ghoul wanting to devour him, Rin narrowly dodged it, before evading it again. As it continued attacking him, and slammed him on the floor, it hurled him far away. Immediately, it flew towards him, but as Rin unleashed his flames to burn it, he successfully repelled it. At that moment, Newhouse appeared, saying that he had been wanting to see his blue flames, and had intentionally sent the demons to attack him, calling him the son of Satan. When Rin wondered how he knew who he was, he realized that Newhouse must have been responsible for the previous attack. So as he leaped high above the ground, he stabbed the demon, obliterating it with his flames. With Newhouse having seen what he wanted, he slipped into the darkness, but Rin began wondering where he went. Back in the room, Suguro was still reciting the chant, but as Shimi passed out, the branches disappeared in an instant. However, Shima continued fending off the ghoul, but as Izumo tried waking Shimi, she began saying that she was not her usual self while at school, wondering if she was alright. As Izumo heard these words, she began wondering how Shimi could be worried about her when she was a bitch. But as this thought inspired her, she began reciting a chant that summoned the twin wolves. As she commanded them to obey, she watched as the demon flung Shima away. But as she directed the wolves to attack it, they tried to consume its body, but it eventually destroyed them. All the while, Suguro was still reciting the chants, but as the ghoul was about to end him, the lights came back on, making the demon grow weaker. Just then, Suguro managed to recite the fatal verse, and as the demon was obliterated, his life continued flashing before his eyes. At that moment, Rin arrived, but as he revealed that he already exorcised the other demon, Suguro kicked him away for abandoning them. At the same time, Shimi managed to regain her strength, but as Izumo told her that she still hated her, she thanked her for protecting them. A few minutes later, Suguro arrived, but as Rin spotted Newhouse behind him, Newhouse continued staring at him. Wanting to expose who he was, Rin tried saying that Newhouse was an enemy, but Mephisto kicked him to the floor. As he congratulated the students for exorcising the demon, he snapped his fingers to make the teachers reveal themselves. As he told the students that this training camp was their Esquire exam, he revealed that the teachers were observing and testing them the entire time, and said that he would determine their final grade after reading the teachers' reports. A few hours later, while the students were in the infirmary, Rin began wondering how they never figured that the demon's attack was a surprise exam. But Kaneko thought he wouldn't pass for not making any impact. As Shimi woke up, she told them that she was starting to recover, so Suguro thanked her for protecting them. When Kaneko began wondering how Rin managed to eliminate the other demon on his own, Rin told them that he slashed it with his sword, but Izumo thought he was a shit-faced liar. Later that day, as Yukio spotted Newhouse, he began asking what his true intentions were during the exam, having suspected that he intended to force Rin into revealing his powers to everyone. As he told him that they wanted to keep Rin's powers hidden, Newhouse told him that he only acted on Mephisto's orders, and as he said that his duty was to understand Rin's abilities, he admitted that he examined him to find out if he was fit to be a weapon of the order, wanting to defend his brother anyway. Yukio began saying that Rin could control his abilities, but Newhouse told him that he wasn't really intending to kill him. That night, while Shimi was inside the store, Yukio entered, asking to speak with her about her future. But as they began having tea, Shimi blushed at the thought of being his girl, and admitted that she had always admired him from the very first time they met. As Yukio admitted that he was impressed to have watched her grow up, he told her to strengthen her determination, and asked her to decide by the next day if she wished to continue as an exorcist. If she decided to continue, he said she would be risking her life, and told her to consult her mother before making a decision. When Shimi remembered the test, and began saying that it made her feel useless, Yukio tried telling her that the teachers had purposely made it difficult. But as he let out those words, he recalled Newhouse's last words, and as he remembered the coldness in his eye, he began heading out, thinking his attacks weren't over. That same night, while Rin was sleeping, Newhouse sneaked into his room. But as he stabbed the blanket, he discovered that it was only a decoy. At that moment, Yukio pointed a gun at him, but as he wondered why he was trying to kill Rin, Rin woke up in another room. When he wondered how he got here, Shimi told him that Yukio had carried him, but they heard gunshots from the room. Outside, Newhouse summoned Cursed Hands, but as Yukio blasted them immediately, he followed Newhouse to the rooftop, and began asking why he was bent on killing Rin. Without any answer, Newhouse directed Cursed Hands towards him, but Yukio continued shooting them. Eventually, they managed to catch him, dragging him away. But as Yukio destroyed them with holy water, Newhouse decided to create a larger wound, summoning his strongest demon. Through the smoke, a giant monster appeared, and as it punched Yukio away, he knew his only hope was to erase the summoning circle. As the demon tried crushing him, he managed to dodge it, shooting at its body, but as it extended an arm to catch him, it hurled him away into the wall. Luckily, Rin stabbed the demon, burning it with flames, but as he flew towards Newhouse, he sprayed holy water in his face to repel him. As he told Rin that he would always be a demon, the Nabrius caught him in his grasp, and began trying to reap his head off, but Yukio wiped the casting circle to disperse it. When Newhouse tried summoning another, Rin threatened to slice his head off, but Yukio advised him to treat his wound before he would pass out. As Rin asked to know who he really was, Newhouse told him that he was a survivor of the Blue Night, and revealed that Satan had burned his family after possessing his body. For this reason, he would always hate demons, and said that Rin was the first on his execution list. He was willing to kill him at the cost of his own life, but as he stabbed him in the belly, he realized that Rin was still alive. With Rin unwilling to continue, he decided to sheath his sword, but asked Newhouse to stop attacking his innocent brother. Deciding to leave, Newhouse revealed that other exorcists would eventually hunt him, and told him to get ready for them. After he left, Rin realized that his injury was starting to heal, but when Shimi arrived and noticed his wound, she commanded him to lie down for treatment. As she began treating him, she realized this was what she wanted for her future, and Yukio understood that she had decided to continue as an exorcist. A few days later, as Mephisto told all the students that they had been promoted to esquires, he said they could celebrate with pancakes, but they thought he was an ugly cheapskate. While Mephisto was alone with Yukio, he decided to apologize for Newhouse's attacks, saying that he never expected this outcome, but promised that it would never happen again. After Yukio left, Mephisto decided to call Amaimon, and as he told him to come to the academy, he revealed that Newhouse would lead him around the barrier. Inside the underworld, Amaimon began wondering why Satan and Mephisto were interested in Rin, and as he grew eager to see his powers, he hoped that Rin would be a worthy challenger. A few days later, while Rin and Yukio were studying, Rin decided to show him the ranking of exorcists, having noticed that esquires were at the bottom. When he wondered how long it would take to reach the highest ranking, Paladin, Yukio grew angry, and began saying that the title was only given to a person at a time. He thought Rin was too useless to ever acquire it, and told him that he would never allow him to follow him on any missions. He had noticed that Rin was too stubborn, and would always ignore orders so that he could act on his own. But as he told him that he was overly depending on Satan's powers, he suggested he stop drawing his sword every time. If he didn't stop, Yukio thought he would eventually be possessed by Satan's powers, but Rin told him that he was starting to sound worse than their father. Later that day, when Yukio arrived for a mission, Rin appeared behind him and began saying that he invited himself for support. As they heard a noise, they rushed towards the scene, but a man told them that the guardian cat Sith had gone berserk, revealing that it was a demon cat called Blackie, which was the protector of the southern rare gate. As Rin spotted the cat, he began hearing its thoughts, but when the security admitted that it attacked them after they revealed that Fujimoto was dead, Yukio told Rin that the cat was Fujimoto's familiar. At the same time, the exorcists began shooting it with tranquilizers, but as Blackie grew angrier, it easily shrugged them off. Immediately, a lady hurled holy water on it, but as the cat was unscathed, it angrily pushed over the truck. Just then, Rin heard Blackie calling them liars, so as it charged towards the exorcists, it smacked them away. Even so, they hurled bottles of holy water and continued firing tranquilizers to slow it down. But as the lady told Yukio that they couldn't exorcise the demon, she wondered if he learned any tricks from his father. Because when the cat first went berserk several years ago and attacked a random village, Fujimoto had managed to tame it without any fight. Revealing a cooler, Yukio told them his father had prepared it for a day like this, and had promised that it would calm down Blackie. Opening the lid, Rin told them that it was a reworked grenade to kill the cat, so to reduce the number of casualties, he offered to trigger it on his own. However, Rin continued hearing Blackie's thoughts, but as all the exorcists withdrew, Rin realized that Blackie was bent on not accepting Fujimoto's death. At that moment, he discovered the solution, so as he began telling Yukio that the cat was only sad, he revealed that they were sharing a telepathic connection. When Yukio thought it was better off eliminated, Rin offered to soothe the monster, and promised not to use his powers. As he advanced forward, he screamed that he was Fujimoto's son, and affirmed that Fujimoto was dead. However, as his words only made Blackie angrier, it began charging at Rin. But as they bashed heads, Blackie collapsed from the impact. Realizing it only missed Fujimoto, Rin offered his hand, asking the cat to become his friend. At that moment, Yukio realized that Rin was just like their father, and as Blackie finally accepted that Fujimoto was dead, it shrunk back to its original size and began crying. All the while, Amaimon and Mephisto were watching from the academy, but as Amaimon revealed that he couldn't conclude his thoughts about Rin, he said he wanted to look around the city. After he left, Newhouse began wondering if the city would be safe, so Mephisto told him that Amaimon would not kill any human. That evening, when Yukio met Rin on the steps, he told him that he had helped him get permission to take Blackie away as his familiar, But as Blackie snatched the cooler, Rin realized that Blackie recognized it as a present from Fujimoto. As Yukio decided to open it, he discovered that it was actually filled with catnip juice, and as it made him realize that Fujimoto could have never wanted to hurt the cat, he served it all of his juice. But Rin thought their father was amazing. A few weeks later, when Rin, Izumo, and Shima arrived for their summer vacation, Shima was excited and thought he would get all the hot girls. However, after they arrived at the beach, he realized that their duty was to sell fried squid, but noticed that they weren't getting a single customer. When Izumo appeared, Shima told her that she looked hot in a bikini, but as she told him to get lost, she began heading towards the sea. While on the sea, she noticed that the sky was beautiful, but as she got a cramp, a boy dived to save her. In his haste, he touched her plot armor, but as Izumo pounded on him, he hit her head to knock her out. When she woke up to see his disgusting face, she hit his nose and began calling him a perv. The boy's name was Yohei, but as he tried saying that he wanted to save her life, he noticed her face for the first time and told her that she was cute. Just then, Rin and Shima arrived, but when Shima began wondering who saved her life, Yohei told him that he did. As Shima thought he was too short, they noticed people running away, but as Yohei rushed off, Rin, Shima, and Izumo decided to stare from the watchtower. On the sea, a vast amount of ink had spread across the region, but as Shima wondered what it was, an old man told them that it was caused by a demon. He said it appeared every time the sea was covered with ink, and that it would go on to destroy the village. That same day, after he led them to an old shrine, the man showed them the drawing of a giant squid, and told them that a man had tried to exterminate it 6 months ago, but never came back. While they were heading home, Rin bumped into Yohei, but as Yohei wondered if he had lost his eyes, Rin wondered where he went. With the boy unwilling to say, Rin thought he was a spoiled brat, but Yohei began asking how he could get to a pet shop. Deciding to show them a map of the place, he admitted that he was lost, but while they were escorting him back, he confessed that he had no sense of direction. He was too brain-dead to recall anything, and as he revealed that his father was worse, he told them that he never returned home after sailing away to annihilate the squid. He thought his father must have been eaten, and said he would eliminate the squid to avenge him. That night, the group realized that their dinner was a variety of squid delicacies, so as Tsubaki revealed that the fishers could only catch squids, Rin realized this was why they weren't selling. As Tsubaki told them that the demon was actually a kraken, he said its fatal verse was in Ephesians, but thought they could not exercise it on their own. As his phone began to ring, he stepped out to answer and told the group that he would be returning the next day. However, Shima thought they would have enough time to swim in the sea, but as Tsubaki returned, he told them to look after Yohei so that he would not go after the kraken. The following morning, as Blackie tried waking Rin, it told him that the sea was troubled. But by the time they arrived at the watchtower, they noticed another ink spread across the sea. And as they began wondering where Yohei was, Izumo hurried off to look for him, saying she wanted to save him from himself. However, when she arrived on the dock and spotted him staring at the sea, she decided to keep her distance. But Rin and Shima thought she was starting to like him. When the sun began to set, Izumo wondered why Yohei had not gone home already, but he told her that he intended to wait for the demon, saying he would defeat it. Wanting to persuade him, Izumo began saying that he could not do it on his own, and said he would only get hurt by the kraken. But when Yohei told her she was smelling of low self-esteem, he thought she was trying to make him lose his way because she was already lost. Desperate to defend herself, Izumo began saying that she was only angry, but Yohei warned her to never lose sight of her decisions. His father had told him this, but as he continued saying that he would wait to eliminate the kraken, he spotted it in the distant sea. Immediately, he began running off, but at the same time, Rin was asking Shima to recite the fatal verse for exorcising the demon, and said it was the only way they could stop it from attacking the village. Deciding to give it a shot, Shima began reciting the fatal verse, but as he realized the demon was too far away to hear it, it raised a tentacle and nearly smashed them on the bridge. As the smoke cleared, Blackie lunged at the kraken, but as it leaped back, Rin thought the cat was badass. When the kraken tried ending it, Blackie flew to devour its face, but as it fell back down, having shrunk to its old size, Shima revealed that it got sick from eating the squid. Just then, Izumo arrived, wondering if they saw Yohei. But as she tried summoning her twin wolves to look for him, the kraken spilled water on her body, rendering the paper useless. When they began thinking they would get crushed, a spear pierced the kraken, and as they realized that Yohei had launched it from the sea, the boy prepared to launch another. Immediately, Rin ran off, but as Yohei swerved his boat, Rin dived into the sea. As the kraken splashed the water, making Yohei lose his balance, Rin climbed into the boat, asking if he had lost his mind. However, he dived into the water. Without hesitating, he launched another spear, but as he thought the kraken was starting to grow weak, it flung him away. The impact made him lose consciousness, but as Rin managed to save him, returning him to the surface, he decided to draw his sword to exterminate the kraken. At that moment, a man began screaming Yohei's name, and as the boy woke up, he realized he was his father, and swam towards him. That night, as Yohei's father waved the kraken goodbye, he told Yohei that he was never attacked by it, and explained that he had been drifting on his raft for 6 months. As he asked him to open his heart, he said he discovered the truth about the kraken while fighting it, and as he was certain it would never attack their village again, he told Yohei to give up on his desires for revenge. A few weeks later, after the students arrived at an amusement park for a mission, the boys noticed Shimi's huge milkers and grew an extra bone in their pants. When Rin wondered why she ditched her kimono, Shimi told them that it wasn't comfortable for a mission, but Shima was already in love with her hot bod. As Yukio began to announce that they would be separated into pairs, he explained that a ghost had been damaging the park, and said their mission was to find it and report to him. As the mission started, Rin and Shimi began walking through the park, but when they came across the Ferris wheel, Shimi was enchanted at the sight, and confessed that she had always wanted to go to the amusement park. When Rin noticed she was growing sad, he suggested they return after their mission, but as Shimi accepted, he thought he was about to get his first girl. Meanwhile, the other students were still looking for the ghost, but when Rin and Shimi arrived at a carousel, Rin realized the ghost was on it. As the carousel began to move, they saw the little ghost crying, but when Shimi tried asking what was making him cry, he dived between her plot, revealing that he missed his parents. He said he suffered from a terrible sickness in the last days of his life and could not play with anyone for the final time. But as Shimi thought he was lonely, she tried soothing him. However, Lucky decided to feel her massive cannons, revealing it was all an act before darting off. As Rin was angry for not having touched them first, he began pursuing Lucky, but they soon ran out of breath. Hoping to cover more ground, Shimi suggested they split up, but as she followed Lucky into a house of mirrors, she bumped into a mirror. Outside, Rin tried calling Yukio, wanting to tell him that he had spotted the ghost, but Amaemon snatched his sword from his back. When Rin wondered who he was, Amaemon told him that he was a demon king, and said he would not be giving him back his sword. Wanting to reveal Rin's powers, he decided to draw the sword, but Rin ignited at the same time. Meanwhile, Suguro was trying to look for the ghost, but when his useless partner heard a noise, she began climbing up the wheel. At the same time, Shimi found Lucky inside a teacup ride, but as she followed him inside, he made it spin until she got dizzy. On the other side, Amaemon continued drawing and sheathing his sword, watching Rin ignite with flames each time. So as he realized that the sword was connected to Gehenna, he revealed that the scabbard was the gate sealing his powers every time. Having had enough, Rin told him to make up his mind, but Amaemon decided to pull out the entire sword. From his burning flames, he was certain that Rin's powers were in Gehenna while his body was in this world. But as Rin decided to attack him, he flew to the roller coaster. When Rin demanded to know what he wanted, Amaemon told him that he came to play with him. With a button, he turned on electricity, powering all the rides in the park, but as everyone heard the noises, Yukio confirmed that he wasn't responsible. Inside the park, Amaemon began teasing Rin to catch him, but as he flew over to the rail, Amaemon had already moved to the very top. Wanting to catch him, Rin began climbing towards the top, but as Amaemon started descending on a car, Rin jumped out of the way, but Amaemon sent him down with a flick. At the same time, Suguro and Yamada noticed the smoke from Rin's body, but Yamada jumped off. So as Yukio spotted the same smoke, he wondered what it could be, but Amaemon followed Rin as he fell. As he continued punching his face, he wondered why Rin was considered special, and eventually punched him to the ground before kneeing into his gut. Meanwhile in the ride, Shimi realized that Lucky was just like her, and as she thought he only wanted company, she decided to play with him, eventually following him into a bouncy castle. At the same time, Amaemon continued punching Rin's face, but as he thought he was disappointing, Rin grabbed his head, eventually flinging him away. With all his anger, Rin began hurling beams at him, and as he wrestled him to the ground, he started squeezing the life out of him, oozing with immense flames. However, Amaimon thought the fight was only getting exciting, so as he banged the ground, creating an earthquake, the entire park began trembling. This caused beams to start falling, but as Amaimon kicked Rin away, they began deflating the inflatable castle, and Shimi saw a beam lowering towards her. As Rin heard her scream, he realized the beams were bringing down the castle, but as Ni protected her with branches, Rin tried rushing to her. In a desperate effort to save her life, he unleashed an inferno that burned the entire castle. But as she managed to survive, Lucky reminded her that he was already dead. As he told her that he never played so much while alive, he thanked her and disappeared. But at the same time, Amaimon stamped on Rin's back, and as he began saying that he was too weak and useless, Yamada appeared, summoning a sword from her chest. As she flew towards Amaimon, knocking him away, she pulled Rin up, saying she knew exactly who he was. She thought Amaimon could not have entered the academy on his own, and began wondering if Mephisto allowed him inside. But with Amaimon unwilling to continue, he decided to return the sword before escaping. Just then, Yamada told Rin to hide his tail, and chased after him, but Rin was disappointed at getting his ass kicked. When Shimi arrived and tried to examine his injury, he smacked her hand off. However, as he managed to calm himself, he asked her where the ghost was, so she told him that he disappeared. Just then, Yukio arrived, but as Yamada returned, wondering why he took so long, she decided to reveal her body. All the while, they had thought she was a boy, but as she revealed that she was sent by the Vatican headquarters to investigate the Japanese branch, she said her real name was Shura, and that she was a high inspector of the upper first-class exorcist. But Rin could only notice the shape of her plot. As she showed them her license, Tsubaki realized she was really who she claimed, so as she said she was taking Rin to the Japanese branch office, she dragged him away. Meanwhile, the rest of the students were waiting outside the park, but as Yukio told them to head back to their dormitories, they spotted Rin getting pulled away. At the same time, Shimi appeared, but as Izumo demanded to know what was happening, Shimi told them that she only knew Rin was not at fault. After Shura and Rin arrived at the academy, Yukio opened the door to a secret underground, and Shura told Rin that they were at the center of the Japanese branch of the Order of True Cross. Just then, Mephisto appeared before their eyes, welcoming them to the branch office, but Shura decided to ask why he hid the son of Satan. As he told her that it was for the sake of the Order, he revealed that he intended to tame Rin so that he would become a weapon for them. Thinking his answer was shit, Shura decided to ask him again why he didn't tell the Vatican about Rin. So Mephisto told her that his powers were incomplete, and he thought the Vatican would be disappointed. When Shura wondered if Fujimoto was involved with this secret, Mephisto told her that he had purposely raised Rin for this. But as she told him that she would eventually report to the Vatican, she said she would interrogate Rin inside the Great Cell. Desperate to save his brother, Yukio began saying that he was willing to explain everything, but Shura ignored his face. When they arrived inside the cell, the door sealed them, but as Shura revealed that she was Fujimoto's apprentice, Rin thought she must have been a nun. However, Shura had always been the opposite, but she recalled that Fujimoto had saved her from herself and helped her out of Gehenna. Just then, she began groaning in pain, but as Rin tried helping her, she snatched his sword away and called him a simp for believing her trick. When she wondered why he was easily losing his sword, Rin attacked her, but as she dodged him, she wondered how he awakened his power without drawing the sword. She remembered that Fujimoto had asked her to train him to use the demon sword, but she had rejected his requests. As she summoned her sword, Rin wondered why she wanted to attack him, so Shura told him that she had been assigned by the Vatican headquarters to eliminate anyone relating to Satan. His blue flames had confirmed he was, so as she said she intended to complete her task, she unleashed the Snake Fang technique. At the same time, Mephisto and Yukio heard the noises inside, so as Mephisto told Yukio that he couldn't possibly enter the cell, he suggested they wait until the interrogation was over. Inside the cell, Rin barely survived the attacks, but as Shura continued launching the blasts, he narrowly dodged them. All the while, Shura was wondering why Fujimoto protected Rin, but as a blast repelled him, she kicked him into the wall, saying that he was too useless to even scratch Satan. As she pointed her sword at him, saying that Fujimoto clung to a pointless hope, Rin said his father died protecting him, and reignited his flames. He said that he would make her respect his father's memories, but as they began fighting, she dodged his attacks, before releasing another blast that sent him stumbling away. She had noticed that he had no fighting skills, so as she activated her emptiness technique, invisible snakes devoured all of Rin's flames. Before he knew it, she stabbed deep into his shoulder, telling him to die already. But as he held her sword, he told her that he already vowed to become an exorcist and to kick Satan's ass. He said he wanted to become the strongest exorcist and would even rise to the height of being the paladin. But as Shira heard these words, she began to laugh, thinking he sounded like a kid. With a snap, she made the door open, and as she realized that Rin loved Fujimoto, she thought that Fujimoto must have raised him with the love of a father. A few hours later, while Yukio was treating Rin's injuries, Shira gave him a wooden sword, saying she would hold on to his demon sword until he was strong enough to wield it. That night, Shirya decided to tell Mephisto that she would postpone her report to the Vatican. But as she said she would continue watching over Rin, she asked him to find a place for her at the branch. Relieved by the news, Mephisto tried inviting her for ice cream, but as she thought he was up to no good, she wondered what he was plotting. But Mephisto told her that he only wished for peace. Thinking it was bullshit, Shira told him that the higher-ups didn't trust him because he was a demon, and decided to leave. Early the next morning, while Rin was sitting at the top of a tower, Blackie decided to join him, wondering why he was awake already, but he revealed that he was thinking about his father. He remembered that Fujimoto had managed to calm him down when he got angry at school, and as he told him that he would end up alone if he continued fighting with everyone, he had asked him to protect others with his strength. When Rin was ready to start training, Blackie transformed into the huge cat as they jumped off together. A few days later, when Shira introduced herself to the students, she revealed that she was sent by the Vatican headquarters as a spy, but said she would be taking over Newhouse's class. As Rin arrived, revealing that he overslept on a rooftop, he noticed Shira's huge missiles, but decided to take his seat anyway. From his composure, Suguro thought he was becoming different, so as Shira decided to begin the class, Rin realized that his goal to become the paladin was only starting. Set your heart ablaze, go beyond your limits, and watch this next video.